Today I have the craziest challenge I have ever done. I gave myself a task to earn the Keystone Master achievement of the current season in just 24 hours. But not only that, I have to do it on a completely fresh character, which I first have to level up to 80, then get gear appropriate for the war within Season 3, and then go through the grind of running the same 8 dungeons as long as necessary to reach over 2000 rating. Is it possible? We will see. Why am I doing this? Well, I had a week off, my girlfriend was on vacation with her family, and I just wanted to absolutely no-life the game again. It's been a while. First I should establish some rules for that. Obviously, no boosts. No level boost, no running with highly experienced people, nothing. I also wanted to make no use of YouTuber perks, so I didn't tell anybody I was doing this, and when I was eventually asked if I wanted to run a dungeon, I just said I am already in a group. Then I think it's fair to make use of account-wide perks, such as previously found renown, mounts, toys, and so on. However, I will not do anything that would actively take something from another character of mine, so I won't send over gold or warbound gear, and I also won't take anything from my account back. I am allowed to use add-ons. And of course I only have 24 hours. I can't stop the timer to take a bathroom break or make myself some food. Luckily, I was prepared.
Man, bathroom!
No, just kidding. But I prepared myself some sandwiches and made sure to place my toilet breaks in a strategically smart way. So with all my rules set, let's get into it. I made an Earthen Mage, and that is no coincidence. Mages are currently on top of a Mythic Plus meta, and they also bring a lot of value to the group, especially due to their time warp ability. Actually, this fact alone would come in very useful later on. Earthen Dwarves also have a passive racial ability, Wide-Eyed Wander, increasing their experience gain from exploring by 200%. I have leveled up a couple of Earthen Dwarves before, making use of this passive, and it really is the fastest way to get someone to max level. In addition to that, I have the add-on Distinct Earthen Skywriting, which basically has completely mapped out flying paths where you need to go to level up to level 70 as fast as possible. In combination with the add-on TomTom, you also have an arrow that directly shows you the way. The only thing you have to do, besides flying around, is pushing any movement button over and over again. Otherwise, the game might not recognize that you discovered a new location. So while flying around, I was also doing this the whole time. My route starts at the Black Temple in Outland. Luckily, there is a simple way to get there. You can use the Critter Hand Cannon toy to summon 3 critters, who just start running around, as well as the Fractured Necrolite Skull, for which you need to sacrifice a critter to open up a portal to the Black Temple. Once there, I could start flying. My route sent me all across Outland, Pandaria, the Broken Isles, Northrend, Zandala, a bit through the Blasted Lands, and finally Draenor. After 1 hour, 16 minutes and 58 seconds, I was level 70. From here on, I explored a bit further to gain some additional XP, but it's definitely not the fastest way to level anymore. When I was planning the challenge, I had to make a choice. You see, I needed to choose the week in which I wanted to do it, before or after the weekly reset. In one week we had Legion time walking, in the other we had a dungeon week giving more loot in Mythic Plus, as well as a guaranteed piece of hero gear from the weekly quest. Also, I was not yet renowned level 20 with a Kawashi Trust, which I would be after the weekly reset. Renown 20 gives you an Enchanted Wound Ethereal quest, which can be used when crafting gear to push the item level up to 704. So on paper the second half of the week seemed better. However, time walking dungeons have one major benefit. You can queue them no matter the item level. Since I leveled up only by exploring, I had absolutely no gear. But I could still queue for dungeons, which is what I did. In my first dungeon I got my first piece of gear, a necklace, and then from the next boss, another necklace. As you would expect, I was dealing the least amount of damage in the groups, by far, but luckily nobody cared about that. In fact, nobody even seemed to notice that I was completely naked. The tank of the group even stayed with me in the next 4 dungeons after this, in which I got 2 wings, yet another necklace, some bracers and a BOE helmet. After the tank left, I made my way to the Isle of Dawn. Running time walking dungeons is a good way of leveling, but it's definitely not all I plan to do. I also decided to do some delves. Each delve has one quest, where you simply have to complete it and the quest gives you a good chunk of XP. With the gear I had required so far, as well as a level 76 brand with full Epicurious, running delves was an absolute piece of cake. So while I was waiting for time walking groups, I did a bunch of delves for the quests, and also did some world quests that would give me either gold or gear. I also did some open world events like the Nightfall event in Hellowfall, which gave me a level 658 item level Adventurer shoulders for when I hit level 80, a 668 veteran chest piece, which I would actually keep until the end of the challenge, as well as a token from which I could buy a 655 piece of gear of my own choice. Also, there were the other daily quests you could do to get a random piece of explorer gear, which I did as well. They gave me some gloves, a staff, and something very offhand. Since I already got the staff, the offhand item was useless, but at least I got a somewhat useful weapon for level 80 already. Eventually, I turned level 80 by exploring. I made my way straight to Undermine, where I could collect boots as well as 2 trinkets from world quests. I also collected all the Valor Stones and quests I had previously unlocked with my renown. Then I also collected all that stuff from the other factions, and eventually bought myself some good bracers from the Karashi Trust. Then I started to do some more world quests for gear and Valor Stones. Got a 668 item level neck piece, some new gloves, and of course I got my Reshi Webs cloak and upgraded it to 730, and after that I went to the Archival Assault Delve. You see, most of the time this delve is relatively short, and since I was around there anyways, I thought I could quickly run it for some quests, Valor Stones, and perhaps some gear. However, delves change their objectives from day to day, and on this day the objective was Waygate Wilds. I had not done this one previously, so I didn't think about it for too long, but this one, oh god, it took forever. Usually you only spend like 5 to 10 minutes in there, depending on your gear and how quick you want to do it. I spent 17 minutes in there, but I guarantee you it felt much longer. However, I got a good offhand item, and since I did all the world quests that grant me gear, I now knew that I would take the dagger from the Nightfall event, which I mentioned earlier. At least I got something useful in here. I went back to Undermine to do the delve in there a couple of times for the weekly quests, since I had the glorious combo of do 1 delve, do 3 delves, and get 100 fragments, which also means do 3 or 4 delves. And the Side Street Sluice is one of the quickest delves to do, especially on +1. However, I also did it on +11 one time just because it's so short, and in one of the previous ones I looted a Shrieking Quartz, with which you can summon Nexus Princess Kaveza at the halfway respawn point. Defeating her not only gives you a piece of champion gear, which for me was a staff, so I could already get rid of a dagger and offhand piece I worked so hard for, but it also gives you the Delver's Bounty, an item that you can use to get additional loot after completing a delve, as long as you have at least 1 life left, and if you finish a +8 or higher, it's actually hero gear. The boss of the delve was pretty tough, but luckily delves can be somewhat janky, and I learned earlier when killing the trash that these little crocodiles are hungry. So when I noticed a little crocodile near the boss, I completely changed strategy and went into feeding mode. The piece of gear I got were some legs, which were a huge upgrade. I would also carry these with me until the end of the challenge. I actually turned these and the chest from the Nightfall event into set pieces to get my 2 set bonus. I also had gotten my cracked keystone in here, which gives you an actual keystone along with a quest that rewards some high level quests to level up your gear. Also at this point I've done pretty much everything I can do to get some decent gear on my own. Except for one thing, professions. I decided to get myself a new wing, since the ones I had were not that great. I replaced a 545 with a 691, so that's a pretty huge upgrade, and then I was ready for my first dungeon. The keystone I got was for the Priory of a Sacred Flame +2. For everybody here who isn't too familiar with Mythic Plus, the higher the key, the more rating you get. You need 2000 rating for Keystone Master, which is roughly the equivalent of having every dungeon finished at +7. You don't need to have every dungeon on a 7, but if you have one dungeon finished as a +6, you need another one as a +8 to even it out. Roughly. The dungeon began and I quickly realized that my group was not good. I didn't deal too much damage with my gear, the paladin didn't interrupt, the heal was not able to keep us alive at a normal trash group, the tank wasn't the greatest either. Look at this. I arrive, instantly take aggro from 2 mobs, one throws a spear at me, the other shoots me. The priest next to me gets shot dead in an instant. The tank is standing right there and doesn't care, and the heal keeps refreshing hearts on the tank, who is at full HP instead of healing me or the Shadow Priest. I swear, 14 keys are easier than this. Buddy, you should be proven right again and again this day. Yeah, this was a disaster and I am actually thankful for the new abandon system. There was no way we could finish this, and luckily we all agreed on that. After this shit show, I went for another quick delve, got a new necklace, and then I searched for a new group. While searching, I got a new trinket that was slightly better than my previous one, and when we had a full group, I went back to a priory. The tank went a different route than usual, but I didn't think much of it until he hit us with the "how much % before we go inside?" Like, dude, I don't know, you are the tank. Then shortly after this, our heal was so annoyed by it that he just straight up wanted to abandon and stopped healing. We were still in time, okay? Like, not perfect, but we could still have timed it. But no, dungeon abandoned. So that was a whole hour with no progress, besides some slightly better gear I picked up on the way. Alright, 3 times the charm. I went back there again with a whole new group and it went much smoother. Okay, our second mage, Dennis, was somewhat of a loose cannon, did not use defensives, didn't move out of attacks, pulled additional groups, didn't play mechanics. He definitely made the whole dungeon more interesting. And closer than it needed to be. But we did it. After over 3 hours on level 80, I finished my first dungeon. Now I still had 15.5 hours left. That should be enough to do it, don't you think? Well, we will see about that. With the fragment I got, I was able to get some boots crafted, and I also realized that I forgot to pick up the delve belt, which goes up to 701 item level, so I quickly grabbed that and did some more delves to upgrade it. While doing the delves, I already searched for new people to do my next key, Gambit plus 3. Tazavesh Gambit is one of my favorite Mythic Plus dungeons of all time. It's short, it's easy, it has a way too long timer, it's basically a guaranteed W, and the dungeon is also pretty fun. Well, that is if you can find people to do it. Sadly, no heal or tank showed up, and the group disbanded before it even began. I assumed it was because of my low rating and gear that not many people would join me, so I decided to run some more low keys of other people to get myself some rating and eventually be able to attract more players. So instead I searched for a different group and did Operation Floodgate plus 2. This was the first time I did this dungeon since Season 2 and I was not aware of the changes they did with Bubbles. You know, in Season 2 Bubbles was a big trash mob after the third boss. He had a lot of HP and was annoying to do, so many people tried to skip it in some way, but it never really worked and just caused unnecessary vibes. Due to very loud feedback, it appeared that everyone hated Bubbles. And Blizzard did the craziest thing to show us that Bubbles deserved so much better. What? Why? And if that wasn't enough, after killing the boss, when you go down, you can see and hear Bubbles Jr., who is apparently looking for Dad. Oof! Blizzard. That's dirty. After finishing my dungeon with relative ease, I found a group for Gambit 3, so I guess I just won't run my own key for now. Gambit is guaranteed to be a slam dunk. The dungeon didn't even take 20 minutes, we had 0 deaths, super clean one. I didn't get any loot, but my keystone got changed to Halls of Atonement. But again, no heal or tank to be found. Instead, I found a group for another Floodgate, this time plus 5. It was a pretty great jump already. I still have over 13 hours left, and I already won plus 5 dungeons. And again, it was a pretty clean one. I mean, our Demon Hunter died in every boss fight, but besides that, clean. And with that, I have hit the next milestone. 500 rating, after close to 11 hours. With that, I also finished my 4th mythic dungeon, which means I could buy a hero level piece of gear for my cartel ships. I could not pick the gear from a current raid, and only from a dungeon, so I could not pick my best in slot items. Instead I went for the Arakawa boot sack. Also, since I didn't find a heal or tank for Halls of Atonement, I changed my key again. Now for the Dawnbreaker. Again, I used my time productively and did more world quests for Valor Stones and quests while searching for people. And I actually got a full group. After the first boss, there was this one little incident where a giant trash group just came out of nowhere. I have no idea why they joined the fight. We were all together, nobody pulled mobs from far away, and they just came RP walking straight to us. Then again, this dungeon is called Bug Breaker by a lot of people due to many different bugs, so I didn't really question it too much. Anyways, we still somehow managed this trash group without a wipe. Of course, we had one person flaming the heal when in reality the heal, tank and I were the only ones who knew what to do. Meanwhile, the hunter and paladin... yeah, they were not the best. We still managed to time the dungeon. I got a new trinket, ate a doner kebab and went for the next key, which was Ecodome Aldani. I am somewhat familiar with the dungeon. I did it on normal difficulty with my girlfriend before, just the two of us, so we actually had it somewhat of a challenge, and I just assumed the mechanics were about the same. Luckily, I was right about that. Not so lucky for me, the group was full in just about 1 minute. I simply had no time to eat my doner. Therefore, the beginning of the dungeon was a bit weird for me. You see, you usually jump over here to skip a trash group, and I tried to do that with one hand, and it just didn't want to work. So, yeah, that was embarrassing. We had a few hiccups here and there, but in the end we were able to make it in time, even though it was getting really close. With 30 seconds left on the timer. I got a new helmet in there, which was great. The one I had was still adventurer gear, so it was a pretty big upgrade. Even more so since I could turn it into a set piece, making it my third set item so far. And the keystone I got led me back to a Prairie Officer Quit Flame, +5. Here I would learn that the second boss is much more difficult if your group does not play the mechanics. Our Warlock was great, he knew what to do and even I could learn a bit from him about this fight. To summarize it, the group wants to stack until the boss throws his hammers. Then we move over to the other side of the room. We wait until he casts the pyre, which needs to be soaked, but we don't go there until after he makes these big shield explosions, since he casts them at the location of players. After that, everyone walks over to the pyre to prevent it from exploding, and that's pretty much it. A bit more complicated than the average boss fight, but not too difficult. As long as you play the strategy correctly. However, if you don't do it this way, it looked like this. The timer was long dead, but we decided to still finish it and it definitely was a learning experience. Also, when you pull the last boss without killing the two trash groups before that, they will actually join the fight. And our tank somehow did not notice that, even though he turned the boss and basically looked directly at the ads. And we pinged, and told him. And everybody died. He still didn't notice, and in the next attempt he also just wanted to pull the boss again without taking care of the trash first. So yeah. Usually I would find this hilarious, but at this point I've been playing for over 13 hours and things like these could ruin the whole challenge. Next I found a group for Arakara +7. It first looked pretty great. They were all dealing a ton of damage, especially our Overgeared Frost Decay, and after that priory run before, I thought I could make some progress again. Then our tank pulled a few too many and we wiped. Okay, no problem, it happens. But instead of pulling less, he just did the same thing again, and we wiped again. And then the tank pulled the boss, but did not attack it to keep aggro, and instead decided to go to the other side of the room to pull some trash. Which caused the death of our best DPS, and overall just caused a lot of confusion and infighting between everyone. Ending up with a group disbanding. You'll love it. Next I found a group for Gambit +6, and what shall I say? It's Gambit. We finished it with almost 40 minutes left on the timer and only 2 deaths. Easy peasy. Next, Floodgate 7, where our paladin didn't know the mechanics, caused 2 wipes at the first boss fight, and we ended it after wiping again at the next boss. You need to clear out the bombs here by using the boss's abilities, like the explosion around you or the charge of a hobgoblin. Meanwhile, our paladin slowly I started to see a pattern. Either it goes really smoothly or everything goes horribly wrong. The next dungeon, for example, Tazavesh Streets +5, was super clean again. We ran into some trouble at the trash directly before Misa's Oasis, but that's the only issue we had and we finished it with 12 minutes left. Not only that, but I got new gloves and our priest also gave me the shoulders he got. Both pretty good upgrades, going from adventurer to champion. Also, I had reached 1000 rating. Halfway there, baby! Next, back to a Priory +4. with a competent group, and we easily timed it. Absolutely no problem. Just 10 minutes later I was doing Arakawa again with a +5, and we also managed to time it. Since I had not finished Arakawa yet, it gave me a whooping 221 rating and I reached the 1500. After leveling up my gear and having a new ring crafted for me, this time with an enchanted wooden ethereal crest for a higher item level, I actually got invited for a +8 Dawnbreaker. Since I previously only finished it on +3, this was a massive opportunity for me. And besides one stupid wipe after accidentally pulling the final boss, we finished it with no issue. This got me up to 1606 rating, with over 6 hours left to finish it. However, there were two problems. First of all, I was really getting tired. And second of all, it was 2 AM on a Tuesday. That's not necessarily prime time for Mythic Plus. Which means finding groups became difficult. It took me over 30 minutes to find my next group, which was Arakawa 8. I didn't have much luck in this dungeon before, and that should not change now. The beginning was not great, but it could be worse. But we had this one toxic guy, which of course was a hunter. He blamed the heal, he blamed the tank, and when I told him to shut up, of course he blamed me. We stopped the dungeon there because he went AFK. My mood was not the greatest. I was tired, and I was tired of people like him. Then I did Tazavesh Streets +8, and we barely finished it in time, giving me at least another 48 rating, but I was still missing a lot and I only had about 5 hours left. The good thing, I still didn't do any Halls of Atonement one, so that will definitely give me a lot when I finally come to it. However, this dungeon just seemed to evade me. No matter how much I searched, the only ones I found were either +2 or +18 or something like that. +2 would not be worth the time I put into it, and +18 is way out of my reach. So instead I went different dungeons on a high key to perhaps make a +2 justifiable. But luck was not on my side. Quarry +9 failed. Arakawa +8 failed. I just spent about 2 hours for absolutely no progress. I was tired, I was exhausted, and I started losing hope. Then I got invited into a +9 Ecodome Aldani. The last time I was in here was a +4. If we could do this, there might be a chance to pull this challenge off, but this had to work. And my group was absolutely smashing it. My damage was utter dog shit, I was not 100% focused, my gear was not fully enchanted, I had no consumables, I needed to save a gold that I had in case I needed to repair my gear, but my group didn't bother. We completely rocked this dungeon. I still played the mechanics of course, we only had one death and that was not me. We finished it with about 9 minutes left and it gave me +100 rating. 246 missing and I still didn't do a single Halls of Atonement. So imagine my excitement when just 3 minutes later I got invited into a +7. This could be it. This could give me enough rating to finish it. I was motivated. After being awake for about 22 hours, I finally caught my second wind and I played like a god. Every mechanic played to perfection. My damage was good. The big trash at the beginning, no issue. The first boss lying in the dirt. Second boss, not perfect, but still first try. Third boss accidentally got pulled with a big head, so we started over, but we didn't lose too much time here. About 5 minutes left for the final boss. And here I learned that at least 2 players did not know the mechanics. Okay, still 3 minutes left. We learn from our mistakes. Right? Nope. The one was over. The group disbanded. I was so close. I was so tired. 2 hours left, and I found a group for a +5. Better than nothing, I guess. I joined, we finished it, and I got 220 rating. Just 26 missing. I looked at my other ones and came to the conclusion that running a dungeon 2 difficulties higher than my previous best should be enough. It had to be. I only had 1.5 hours left. I could not afford another failed dungeon. We needed to finish it. And with the first group I found, I took a great risk. Bribery of the Sacred Flame +6. This dungeon is easy if your group knows what to do. Otherwise, and I have seen it enough in the last 24 hours, the group will not make it past the second boss. But I think it's kinda poetic that it all comes down to the same dungeon that was my first one, over 16 hours ago. The group had a good heal, and I was optimistic, but I also knew this might be my last chance. And then the tank joined us.
Pleased to meet you.
Are you really telling me that it comes down to a gnome to lead us to victory? This whole time I was never in a group with a gnome. Not once. And now he will make it or break it. But this group was good. The damage was good, heal and tank knew their job, people played the mechanics. If you compare this with the first time I went in here, 16 hours ago, I am just so glad this group did not disappoint. The first boss was down, and so was the trash before the second one. Now it should all be decided. Can I finish my challenge and finally go to bed? The boss got pulled. We stacked, moved as a unity, we dodged the attacks, we soaked the pyre. It was perfect. Absolutely perfect. We defeated him, killed the trash mobs afterwards, and made it to the final boss. And again, we played it to perfection. Finally, this challenge was finished. With only 45 minutes left, after over 23 hours, I could finally sleep. With 5.5 minutes left on the timer and only 2 deaths in the dungeon, I am happy to announce that it was not enough. 2 points? I am missing 2 points? I was so shocked that I didn't even realize I got a new trinket. I only noticed that when I was reviewing the footage the day after. 45 minutes left for 2 points. I don't have time to prioritize a certain dungeon. No matter what I can get, it will have to do. The key just had to be one difficulty higher than my best one of a dungeon. Anything will do. I just have to go with it. It's my last chance. This time for real. Back to Arakara. I don't have good memories of this place. Now it will either become an even worse memory or it will be redeemed. One last time. Win, lose, doesn't matter. One final dungeon and that's it. Either I am successful and can sleep in peace, or we fail and I just wasted 24 hours. This depends on Avantag, Sophia, Meddlers and Pickleboo. My gang, let's see what you can do. It began. The tank pulled big and we cleared the trash. Like absolute gods. Meddlers literally said, that's what I'm motherfucking talking about. We cleared one pack after another. No accidental pull. None of that bullshit I have encountered in here before. We placed the void source for the first boss strategically smart. We slowed and nuked down the ads. At the second boss, I died because I misclicked and thought I had auto time activated, but I didn't. So I literally stood on the ability like an idiot. I was tired, okay? Don't blame me. No matter. The boss was almost dead at the time and they finished him with absolute ease. On the way to the final boss, I felt so unfocused. I was so exhausted. I just wanted it to be over. I just wanted to go to sleep. But when we faced the final boss, we still had 13 minutes left. Even if we failed him once, we should have plenty of time to make up for it. But we didn't fail. One last time I took all my concentration and it looked good. As I said, I was only missing 2 points and we finished the fight with over 10 minutes left, one difficulty higher than my previous best. After finishing it, the achievement should pop up, that's it. However, in my delirium I did not notice that we had not finished the percent bar yet. Also, I thought it would be over before, in the previous dungeon. So, the shock that went through my head when the achievement did not pop up was incredible. Come on. Oh, for a second I thought, we're just missing percent. Oh, my heart. But soon after, it was over. We did it, and I was so tired. It was definitely an experience, I can tell you that much. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my little adventure, make sure to like the video and tell me in the comments below. Thank you for your support, especially to the channel members. I hope to see you next time. Until then, see ya!